Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. If you didn't see the news this morning, Superman now facing his worst villain yet in the DCU, a giant lawsuit. There's a new report saying that the Superman estate is suing the new James Gunn Superman movie, and it's a very big deal. Superman basically trying to sue the Superman movie. It's not like that Ryan Reynolds-Blake Lively slap fight of a lawsuit that's going on right now. This new Superman movie lawsuit, way more serious, and they have a much stronger case. So there's a much better chance that Warner Brothers and James Gunn are in hot water. Totally sounds like some evil Lex Luthor plan finding a problem Superman can't punch his way out of. The follow-up questions everyone has: what does this mean, and why is Superman or the Superman estate able to sue the new Superman movie? What fresh chaos is this? It's still January when I'm posting this video. The reason why this is more serious than, say, like the Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively situation is because it's not a simple he said, she said situation where it's open to a lot of interpretation from both sides. It's not like the Superman estate is suing over hurt feelings in text messages or anything like that. Their case has way more basis in actual contracts with very specific language, which is why their case is so much better, why they have a much better shot at actually winning in court, which is a big deal. So we'll break it all down and what this means for the actual movie this year, because it's still scheduled to come out in July. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. As chaotic as this sounds, it's not the end of the world. It's actually a really weird situation, and it happens all the time in Hollywood. That's right, this is just par for the course in Hollywood. Anytime a giant movie comes out, there's always a lawsuit. Marvel has giant lawsuits over on their side of things all the time. Really good example of that, Scarlett Johansson had that very public lawsuit with them over the Black Widow movie, so this is just a normal thing for big movie companies in general, not just comic book movie companies, not just DC, because the same people that are suing them now sued them a couple years ago during the Henry Cavill era of Superman 2 over that version of Superman. But the first big question I know everybody is asking, is this going to affect the new Superman movie from coming out in theaters in July like they're planning on releasing right now? And the easy answer to that is no. You will still be able to see this new Superman movie wherever you live in the world. They're still going to release it, no matter what. The people who are actually suing the movie, and Warner Brothers primarily, want them to release the movie even, like, please release this movie, because, and this is a really important read between the lines kind of moment here, the more money that the Superman movie makes this year all over the world and next year, it increases the amount of money that the Superman estate, who's doing the suing, can earn from the lawsuit or the settlement if Warner Brothers tries to quash it before it goes to trial, which they probably will. So everybody on both sides of this Superman lawsuit, the Superman estate who's suing them, Warner Brothers, James Gunn, DC, all of them want the Superman movie to make as much money as possible around the world. But for very different reasons, like James Gunn is using the Superman movie this year to legitimize his reboot of the DCEU into the DCU, and his whole slate of planned movies and TV shows they're making is part of DC Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. You remember that big video he released, all those projects he announced. There have been several more movies and TV shows that they've also announced since he released that video, so there's this giant slate that they're trying to do. James Gunn said it himself, if this first big Superman movie does not work out, their plans for the future of DC movies will just have to change significantly, and this reboot might be over just as it's starting. So there's a lot on the line this year. The Superman movie has to do well. If you didn't see the news this morning, what just happened is the Superman estate, which they're calling the estate of Joe Shuster, one of the creators of Superman, sued Warner Brothers over the Superman movies specifically. This isn't the first time that the estates of Siegel and Shuster have sued Warner Brothers over Superman and Superboy because those are the characters that they created originally. DC and Marvel, like I said, get sued all the time by comic book creators. Marvel got sued a number of years ago, not just for the movies like the Scarlett Johansson Black Widow thing, but comic book creators sued Marvel for comic book character rights. Siegel and Shuster have sued DC numerous times over the years, and then Warner Brothers when they were about to release the Christopher Reeve Superman movie back in the 1970s when they were both still alive. Then after they died, their heirs took over their estates. They took over the duties of suing DC, Warner Brothers over the Superman, Superboy rights. But it's not because they don't want Warner Brothers or DC to release Superman movies at all, like they want that very much, because you remember James Gunn actually filmed part of the new Superman movie in Cleveland where they lived, where they literally created the Superman character, which is why Cleveland is called the birthplace of Superman. Siegel and Shuster's grandsons even had a special cameo in the movie. They visited James Gunn and gave him this special comic book too to honor the occasion. So it's not like these guys are suing James Gunn over the Superman movie or anything like that. We're talking about like a high-level estate with like their families in those estates suing over specific rights in certain places around the world. A really good comp to make is the Lord of the Rings and the Tolkien estate. The Tolkien estate itself is very litigious with all the books, the rights for all the different Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien's creations, for all the different things that he did. Their family is enormous now, so you have like younger generations who are like really cool with them doing specific things with the movies or the TV shows, and older members of the family who are also part of the estate on a legal basis might not be cool with that. So that's how you have situations where you have like Siegel and Shuster's grandsons being super jazzed up to be in this new Superman movie, but then the family's estate turns around and sues Warner Brothers over the movie for a ton of money. Like I said, the last big time that they sued over Superman and Superboy was back during the Henry Cavill Superman era, right before Zack Snyder released the Man of Steel movie and started his whole run of that Justice League era with all those different actors. So a lot of you probably figured this out. Part of the idea is that the Superman estate, which they're calling Siegel and Shuster's estates, typically focus most of their lawsuits, their efforts, contract negotiations or renegotiations around the time when Warner Brothers is about to release new Superman movies because there's so much money on the line, like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, potentially billions of dollars in profits if you look at home video releases and merchandise, all that stuff. What happened during the last big lawsuit, and this was around 2013 when this was all settled, around the time they were releasing the Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill, is the courts sided with DC and Warner Brothers because of an earlier lawsuit that happened during the Christopher Reeve Superman era when he was making those movies. Now in present day, what's happened is that Joe Shuster's estate, just one part of that estate, is suing DC and Warner Brothers again over the new James Gunn Superman movie specifically, claiming that Warner Brothers doesn't have the rights to release the movie in some key foreign countries outside of the United States, is what they mean. And even though it doesn't represent the entire world, it's enough of a chunk of the worldwide box office that it's a very large amount of money. The reason why this is more serious, why their case is way stronger than, say, the whole Ryan Reynolds-Blake Lively thing, just for comparison, is that the Shuster estate is claiming that their specific contracts, Shuster and Siegel's contracts with DC and Warner Brothers, state the rights to release any new Superman movies in foreign countries reverted back to the estate after a certain period of time, and we are past that amount of time now. Which is one of the reasons why they waited until right now to sue them, because they said that this specific matter was not litigated the last time they had their big lawsuit during the Henry Cavill Superman era. Also, the second reason why they waited until right before this new Superman movie came out to sue, like I said, they hope that the movie comes out, makes a ton of money in these places where they claim that they have the rights, making it easier for them to sue for even more money or get more money out of a settlement. So it always comes back to money. It's all about money. That's just kind of the way it goes in Hollywood. They're planning on the idea that Warner Brothers might want to settle the lawsuit before it goes to court so that it doesn't overshadow the release of the movie later this year or hurt the hype at all, which I don't think that it will. Most regular people who aren't like really tuned in to specific comic book news probably don't even remember the Henry Cavill era Superman lawsuit that they filed. But the idea, again, is that they wouldn't be suing Warner Brothers over the Superman movie in such a public way right now, like firing this huge shot at them in public if they didn't think they had a good shot at winning. So it's not a vanity thing or PR trick or shady in the same way that the whole Ryan Reynolds-Blake Lively thing seems super sus. Most likely, though, what's going to happen is that Warner Brothers will settle with the Superman estate later this year. They're not going to fix this right away. Stuff like this, even if it seems like a small lawsuit, always takes a long time to figure out, with lawyers arguing over a table for a very long time. DC better hire a really good team of lawyers, see if Daredevil is free. He kept Spider-Man out of jail, maybe he can help them too. It should be said though, the Siegel and Shuster estates are totally within their rights to want to sue for more profits from Superman. Most comic book creators have died in poverty because of their original contracts with Marvel and DC paying them such little money and not giving them a piece of the back end on future movie or TV show profits, because when a lot of these contracts were made back in the day, nobody thought that they would ever be making TV shows or movies based on the characters. So that's why a lot of these deals were not written into their original contracts way back in the day. One of the exceptions to something like this is Bob Kane, who was one of the creators of Batman. Back in the day when Batman was first created by him and Bill Finger, he got a piece of the back end going forward. So when they got to the movies like Michael Keaton Batman and it started blowing up in pop culture in an even bigger way, he got a big piece of that. All because back in the 1930s, when they created Batman together, he had a really good lawyer helping him negotiate over those rights, whereas Bill Finger did not. That's why it took so many years for Bill Finger to start getting credited as one of the co-creators of Batman. You could do a whole video on how the comics industry has mistreated comic book creators since the dawn of comics. People like Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, the Image comic guys back in the day were one of the first examples of a group of people who successfully broke out of that model, doing really popular creator-owned work so they earned way more money on it because they owned all their characters. Nowadays, people do stuff like that all the time, which is why people have a chance in making way more money from their work and owning their work in the future going forward. But like I said, this whole lawsuit thing probably is not going to put a dent in the new Superman movie, David Corenswet Superman. The hype will still be out there. Warner Brothers will try to fix this as quickly as possible in the background. We will see what winds up happening, but I'm assuming that they're just going to wind up writing a very big check, and that's going to be the end of it. That is usually how these things go. I'm sure the same thing will probably happen in the whole Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively situation too. Like, there's going to be a giant settlement and that'll be the end of it. But because the Super Bowl is coming up, there will be a new Superman trailer before the Super Bowl, but James Gunn said it is dropping at the Puppy Bowl. I think that means it's going to be a Krypto-focused trailer, or it'll just have way more Krypto, the Superdog footage in it. He hasn't totally explained the origin of this new version of Krypto in the DCU yet. Krypto has had a couple different origin stories in the comics, the movies, the TV shows that have used him. But there is a lot of cool stuff coming up. We have the Super Bowl trailers next week. I'll do videos for as much of it as possible. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. Invincible Season 3 episodes also start next week. I'll be doing weekly episode videos for that, and it looks like it's going to be peak. Everybody click here for my new Superman trailer video, and click here for that first look at Supergirl. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.